Okay. How's
Hey
everyone?
guys, how are you? Finally, Rod, you are muted. You have to unmute yourself. Rod,
Thank you. I muted my mic and not my computer, so I was just talking to myself.
that's fine. That's fine.
All right, 1 second. It looks like we lost Ben, but let's try to get him back real quick before we start.
Oh man, I hope he makes it because
Yeah.
it will be very, very. It'll be very upsetting if he doesn't. Probably. Did you mention what's going on?
Yeah, he said he was shooting it from his phone, so I assume he just like hit the reset button or something.
Okay. Okay, he'll be back.
There we go.
Hey,
Hey.
All right. You guys ready to get started?
Oh, unmute.
unmute yourself. Unmute yourself.
Me?
No, Ben.
Oh,
Ben.
okay. I was like,
Oh, Ben.
You're still on mute, man.
yeah, you're on mute. It's you're muted on Zoom. There's the little red button. It's all good. All right. While he figures that out, in the meantime, is everybody else ready to get started? Victor,
Yep, good to go.
Akshay, are you guys
Yes,
in chat
yes.
ready to get started? Just a couple yes.
Now that they see Victor, they must be ready.
Yes, Queen. Well, since you guys have formally acknowledged that I am the queen of this panel, I would like to officially welcome you to the first ever, as far as we know, non-Anglosphere copywriting panel. Today I've been joined by 4 lovely gentlemen who are all experts in not just being copywriters and being successful, but also in navigating all of the extra challenges that come with being a copywriter who does not live in the Western Hemisphere, or I guess in the global North. We set up this panel today not just because we like to sit around and talk with each other, as you will find we are always doing on the Discord, which I'll post a link right here, but also because one of the things we all believe in is giving back to the community and helping make the road to where we've gotten easier for people who are like us, who are looking to succeed, who are willing to put in the work, who see the challenges ahead of them and want to do better for themselves and create a better life. So that's why we're here. We have this panel. We're going to go through, it's going to be about 2 or so hours long. And we're going to start off with some introductions. I'll introduce you all to the guys, and then we will get into how they got their start, some of the challenges that they faced in terms of overcoming being non-Anglosphere copywriters, both in terms of prejudice, whether that's perceptions, overcoming, getting paid fair rates, but also material challenges like how do you write copy if you don't necessarily have a laptop, or how do you set up an Upwork profile if it's banned in your country. And then at the very end, we'll also have a Q&A session for the audience to ask questions. Feel free to type questions in chat throughout the panel. I will be looking at chat. And if I don't answer a question, keep asking it. I see that we have a pretty lively chat today, so I might miss it. Just be persistent, and you will make it both at this panel and in copywriting. Looks like Ben still has not gotten his audio set yet. So
Can you unmute him like yourself?
I cannot. I can ask him to unmute himself. Let's see. There we go. You're unmuted.
Yes.
Yes. Can we get a round of applause for Ben, who has overcome one of the many challenges of
Okay.
we were joking prior to the panel in our group chat about any technical challenge that we face today. We would just say is an example of being a non-Anglosphere copywriter, and this is certainly one of them. So Congratulations to Ben. And for everybody else out there, you can make it just like him. All right, so speaking of Ben, let's get to these panelist introductions. Benjamin Obetan is
Okay.
excuse me, Obetan. And please everybody correct me on your name because I will mess it up. Benjamin Obetan.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you. So at the start of 2021, he set out on a mission to break into the world of financial copywriting, which is one of the most difficult niches to get into, from his home country of Nigeria, so without coming to the US. At the beginning of 2021, he knew nothing about copywriting, didn't have a job, couldn't afford a laptop, and was living hand to mouth. And all he had with him to accomplish his goal was a jank Android phone, a pen, and a lot of A4 paper. Fast forward to now, and he has hand copied, annotated, and cold emailed his way into multiple financial gigs. And within 3 months, he went from making $0 to $1,500, and then eventually made his way into his first of many $5,000 financial promos. Benjamin is ready to reveal all of the details on how he achieved what he believed to be "quote unquote" impossible and what many people told him was impossible in the world of copywriting. Can we get a round of applause in the chat for Benjamin for overcoming not just those goals but also his phone? Love to see it. Next up, we have Victor Muta. Did I get that right? Thank you.
Yeah, you did.
Appreciate it. Victor is my favorite email copywriter and has made over $1 million in sales through his copy. He's the only copywriter, according to himself, from the country of Tanzania. And he's also an expert on how to succeed as a copywriter in a developing country, and specifically has a ton of knowledge on navigating things like PayPal or how to set up accounts or bank accounts in the US when you don't live in the US. And from personal experience, if you want to know how to automate something or how to set up any sort of copywriting systems, Victor is the man to go to. It is Tasmania. Are you also from Tasmania, Victor?
Oh, that's just a meme from when a client messed up. They don't know what country I'm from, so whatever T country that comes to mind, they think it's that. So Turkmenistan, Tunisia, Tasmania, all of them.
It's great, and also terrifying. But
it is what it is.
Just gotta roll with it, I guess. Moving on, we have Mr. Akshay Gupta. Akshay is an Indian freelance copywriter who also works in direct response, like Ben, and he specializes in Facebook ads. He started off as an engineering grad, and then used his writing to get back on his feet after that didn't really work out for him. Over the course of his career, he's written many stories, including for outlets like Forbes, PBS, Naspers, and dozens of others. Can we get a round of applause for Akshay? Welcome to the panel. And last but certainly not least, we have Marcelo Fret, or is it Frete? You're muted.
Oh, I think you got it right then.
Okay, great. Marcel is an Argentinian six-figure copywriter and storyteller who started off with a degree in advertising. He got his first clients when he could barely write in English and knows the struggle of having to learn a language while also trying to work in it. And is really good at breaking through the secrets to making fewer mistakes than native speakers in your own copy, which, can you send me, oh, excuse me. Can you speak now? Okay. I think your mic is muted too, because we still can't hear you.
Yeah, something wrong with your settings.
Okay. No worries. And yeah, so that is our panel. So.
Oh, hold on. About yourself, Rod. We don't want to forget our lovely, wonderful queen of a host.
Thank you. My name, as you can all see, is Rod Satterwhite. I am also a copywriter. I am one of many hosts of the Copy That copywriting show / podcast. We just finished our first season, but I got my start in copywriting about a year ago now, transitioning from being a full-time translator and speechwriter. And so now I mostly work with individuals and brands on their brand identity and how to translate the stories they have on the inside of their head onto the page and whatever other channels that they are trying to reach people on. Much less impressive than anything anyone else here has done. All right. But enough about me. Now I want to get into one of the things that we get asked the most, or anyone who's kind of made it in copywriting gets asked the most, is how did you get your start? So first, I want to go around and ask you guys, what is your origin story? How did you get from not knowing what copywriting even was to where you are now? Can we start with Victor?
Oh, okay.
As you drink your water.
I'm so used to everyone going alphabetically. My name's usually last, so I just assume. But anyway, yeah. Hey everyone, my name is Victor. I am a email copywriter from Tanzania, East Africa. And the way that I got my start, I count my first official day as the day that I registered my website on quickcopy.com, which is July 17th of last year. So I've been in this for about a year and a half now. Mm-hmm. And the way I got started into this is that I've heard about copywriting for a while. I've known it's been in my mind for about like 7 years. I tried to do it locally for the local market here. And as you can imagine, that did not go over well at all.
Yeah.
And so I forgot about it. Fast forward about 7 years, working at an NGO, COVID hit, we got pay cuts, and I was upset because over here, I was earning $700 a month, which was pretty good for here. And then they docked me down to like 450. I was like, okay, that's not cool, right? Yeah. So I figured, is there any way that I can make that $300 a month deficit? I remembered copywriting and decided, okay, this is something that I'm gonna try doing. Lots of ups, lots of downs, more downs than ups, to be perfectly honest. But persevering, trying, doing all sorts of things, and I am here where I am today. Hopefully, I'm hearing that I've helped a lot of people on the way. I want to keep doing that and helping more people. And that's just a very, very quick nutshell about how I got my start.
Awesome. I think it is one thing we don't talk about is how many downs we have to deal with. When you get to the point where you're on a panel giving people advice, it's so easy for us to be like, oh my God, you're so successful. You've sold over $1 million in products through emails. Like, that's fantastic. But to get there, you had to fall down many times and continue to get back up. So I think if there's anything to take away from that story, it's how important it is to not be afraid to fail and keep moving forward and to learn from those experiences.
Yep, perfectly. Oh, and just a little bit of extra context, because we are talking about people from all sorts of different starts. I started with an honestly pretty relatively cushy office job. Mm-hmm. I had my own like laptop. Affording internet and all that stuff wasn't an issue. Mm-hmm. A lot of the things that I was suffering with in the beginning was about structural problems. So you have outages going out. You have days where internet's not working. There was even a time where during the election, the government shut down the internet for the entire country for like 3 weeks, and all sorts of stuff. So those systemic issues were there starting out. But I will say that compared to many people starting out, I was blessed to have access to a lot of the beginner tools to get this thing started. But yeah, I wanted to add that extra bit of context because it's relevant to this kind of conversation. And keep going. We can go to the next person.
Thank you. And we're definitely going to talk about those structural issues too later on in the panel. So thanks for bringing that up. Akshay, would you like to go next?
So I have been writing for the past 6 years, and I graduated as an engineer. And in India, it is said that either you go on to become a good engineer or you go on to become a good doctor. There is no there is no third category. So uh, I failed. I technically failed at engineering, and I didn't get a job, and I was miserable. I was like depressed because I didn't get a job, and my last semester was very tough. And then I came home, and I was just figuring things out, and I started like one of my friends told me that there's a lot of scope in freelancing. He had earned like $1,000 with like software programming, like building websites for clients, like in the US. So he told me that why don't you try something in freelance? Like why don't you go freelance? So I thought like. I read a lot. I used to read a lot of books. So I just started with writing. And then my first gig was like getting paid about $25 or maybe $30 for an article. And that was it. That was the happiest day of my life because I could not believe that I could just, work from my bedroom and earn money just like that from clients. So that was the beginning. And then over the years I had to work with a range of clients. I There were some months where I didn't have any work and it was a bit hard. I was dealing with a bit of mental health issues. So it was hard to deal with all that sort of stuff. And then so I kept like doing my thing. I kept writing and I kept like pitching clients. And uh, after I think 2 or 3 years, I got some good clients. I got published on Forbes and I got my name. Basically, what you have to do is to like make big money in writing is you have to have some social proof, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I got that. So I got that social proof after 2 or 3 years, and from there I started getting like better gigs. I started making more money than my friends were making at that time. I was making like twice the amount of money as a engineer as an engineer in India, and I was getting drunk every weekend. And I was not that like stable as like mature as I am now. But I was having fun. Writing was very like paying off, and from there I like. Yeah, from there I like there were lots of ups and downs, and I had some like tough family situations also where I had to like bear the financial responsibility for my family. And during that time I realized that content writing is not going to cut it. I have to like find a different avenue. So I tried different things, and from there I got into copywriting last year, like early this year. And I realized that wow, in just 2 or 3 months I had gotten a $1,500 project, which was like my whole like 2 month income from content writing. So that is how I got into copywriting, and that's how I developed it.
I appreciate that answer. Well, not answer. I appreciate your story so much, not just because of how like many different directions you went in, but it also gets it into this sort of inner struggle that we all face, where it's not just about can you write copy well. It's also how are you feeling about yourself? How do you get up and write when you're depressed? How do you feel about yourself when you are a copywriter, when you're a freelancer and you're just starting out and you have no social proof, you have no like copy proof in terms of like how well you can do, and nobody wants to hire you? How do you keep getting up and feeling like you're worth it, honestly? And it is inspiring that you were able to make it through all of those ups and downs, through all of those different expectations to the point you are now. So thank you. Next up, let's do Marcelo.
Hey guys, can you hear me now?
You're a little quiet, but I think your mic's
quiet,
working.
yeah.
So just scream into the mic.
Is that better?
It's perfect, yeah.
Oh, nice. I don't know, I always have problems with my audio.
You're good.
Well, so basically, I tried to start early. So when I was studying in college, advertising, I was trying to get myself into any agency. Um, I started with, I actually started working in college for, I don't know how is college in other countries, but here in Argentina, especially public college, we have groups, political groups within the college. So you can join those political groups and you can do like marketing for them and stuff like that, um, to get votes for the college. Well, it's a whole system. So I started like that. Then I tried to move into an internship where I started as a marketing assistant. So that was maybe my first time doing something more marketing at that professional level. But still, it wasn't enough. And here in Argentina, it's also quite hard to get a job in these areas because there are a lot of people, a lot of students fresh out of college that are far prettier than you, and they can get like and far more well positioned, and they can get. It's very competitive, so the odds are always stacked against you if you want to do that. Um, so the other area was freelancing, and then I discovered that's the way I discovered copywriting. I started slow doing some product reviews, product description um, for a bike shop, and then try to scale up from that. So the, the the first thing that I discovered is that I had to work with clients abroad because here in Argentina it's not paid well, and for that I needed to improve my English, and that's something I've been avoiding since I was out of high school, because you see a little English there, but then it's like some you to learn on a deeper level. So I had to start when I started working with my first clients in English. I also was learning English at the same time. So that was that was complicated, but I eventually made it through to the point that now I can confidently write in English. I know I don't make that many mistakes anymore, but I still make mistakes. So there are some ways that we'll be talking to prevent that, especially if you're not very good at English, or to prevent yourself from coming off as someone that speaks a broken English. That's the very last thing that you want, you know. But everyone, and the biggest objection from clients. So that's pretty much me right now. Now I'm working with e-commerce, a little bit of cryptocurrency, one or two gurus, but I'm mostly a freelancer.
Awesome. The language thing is something that it always gets me. For context, prior to this whole copywriting thing for me, I worked as a Japanese translator, and it's one thing people don't understand is that, especially in the United States, but also in other Western countries, is how hard it is to learn a second language. And like, just because the words that are coming out don't sound exactly the same as a native speaker does not mean that that person is not intelligent, is not capable of writing something that is beautiful or that converts well. And so overcoming the challenge of having like people like hear the way you speak, or see like one tiny mistake in your writing and then immediately write you off is so hard to do. And so I think people here should hear what you're saying right now, and appreciate that, like, even if their English is not perfect right now, they can still make it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ben, would you like to go next? You're the only one, so no choice.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Okay. So around December last year, I was trying to make it as a writer. I actually wanted to. I studied English in university, so I wanted to make something out of it. And when I got out, there was no job, there was really nothing to do. So I decided maybe I could write something. So I was actually writing a script for a comic book. But then I realized that when I'm done writing this, I have to market it. And I don't have money. I have nothing for that. And then I've been hearing about copywriting. So I decided, why not I find out more about this? And that's when I found out about direct response copywriting, and then it sounded so interesting. And then I immediately searched for, because I saw that there were different niches, and then I immediately searched for the one that I could make the most money from. And then I found out about financial, yeah, so financial copywriting, and I started reading everything I could about it. I was reading books. I was I was getting sales letters, and I was writing them out. I hand copied about two sales letters, and then I was annotating them. I didn't have a laptop, so I just had my phone. Yeah, so I was doing all of that on my phone, and I did that from about January, February, March, January, February, April. I think I did that for about 4 months. And then my friend was like, dude, you've been practicing this stuff. Why not try to get clients? And I was like, yeah, that's actually true. Because I felt like I wasn't good enough. But I just decided to give it a try. So I started emailing all of the Agoras. Those were the guys I was doing. I kept on emailing them. I was emailing and emailing and emailing. And I actually I was chanced to get like an assignment, yeah, from like one of them. But at that particular time, I really didn't know much. I'd only been hand copying and just annotating. I wasn't so versatile in what I was doing, right? So the publisher told me that, dude, you know what, just go practice, go get some experience, and then come back. And at that particular time, I'd been in communication with this publisher for like almost like a month. You know, I was doing the research, I was trying to write the headline and the lead for this test assignment. And when he told me that, I felt really bad because I actually thought I had a chance. Yeah. And so at that particular time, I felt so bad. It just felt like as if I couldn't make it. I couldn't get any clients. But I had to like revisit everything. I realized that, man, this direct response copywriting, especially in this financial niche, isn't an easy thing. There's going to be obstacles, right? So I just looked at it as one of those obstacles I have to face. And then I decided to come back. And then I reached out again. And that's when I got my first gig, yeah, to write a copy. And my first gig was $1,500. That was cool. That was some money, man. So I was so happy. And then after that, I started again. That was basically it. And this is me right now.
I'm sorry. So you started learning direct or financial copywriting, which is one of the most difficult niches, on your phone because you initially wanted to learn how to do marketing for a comic book you wrote.
Yes. But then I realized I didn't have the money for it. So I decided to try out the skill where I could actually earn money.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I earn money, I could decide to maybe publish a book, then I'll have money for that.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. That's amazing. That's so cool. The tenacity, the perseverance of getting that first rejection, and in your mind, instead of taking that as, oh, I'm a failure, making the shift to, this is a really difficult niche, and I'm just gonna have to work harder to get there, and then having that be the breakthrough that allows you to keep working until you get there is, I think that's a lesson that a lot of people need to learn. With not just copywriting, but so many things in life. It's hard, and if you stick with it, and if you can make that mental shift, I think that it gets a lot easier, or at least the falls don't hurt quite as much. So kudos to that. Did you ever end up publishing the comic?
No, I haven't gone back to
Okay.
that yet. I'm still trying to make waves in financial copywriting.
I'm gonna start messaging you about this. I want to read the comic now. Is it?
I didn't finish it though.
This is the Batman origin story. Okay, so now that we've heard all those wonderful, wonderful other non-Batman origin stories, I want to get into the meat of this panel, the part that everyone's been waiting for. So for context, way before this, we actually took a question, so people were allowed to submit questions to ask the panel, and so most of the stuff we're talking about today are questions that we got from you guys. And so if you are wondering what we're talking about, why we're talking about these things, because you hopped on late, that's why. But the biggest question that we always get all the time is the price question. How do we get paid fair rates as non-Anglosphere copywriters? I imagine that with all four of you, we're going to get 4 different answers. Who would like to start? Victor, I see you smiling.
Okay, fine, I'll go. In regards to prices, this stuff is relative. Like, number one, let's get this thing out there. This stuff is very, very relative, right? So you can have a situation where, like, for example, Akshay said that he got something for $30 and he's like, wow, that's amazing, right? And then I'm very sure that other copywriters, if you said you offer them something for $30, they'd probably hang up on you and block you and just not talk to you anymore, right? So it's very, very relative. In my case, my first project that I got was $400 to do 2 web pages for an e-commerce client, right? So $200 a web page, in the sense that I did not start from doing crazy amounts of work for like $10, $20, $30, $50. That was not my situation initially in the beginning. But I think a lot of that comes from, I'm not charging crazy rates. Like my most recent project was $2,000 to write. And that's my biggest one so far, like $2,000 to write about 4 email sequences for an e-commerce client. And I've been fortunate to charge not maximum crazy amounts of money, but more than many people starting out, because my whole focus was about presenting myself in a way that minimizes risk, in a sense that, like, you can see me, this is a Zoom panel. I actually dressed up for this. I pressed this shirt. I got this like whole Zoom thing presentation going on. And this is intentional because when I go on a call and some client sees me the way that I am presentable, quote unquote presentable, and right now, that lowers that risk in the back of their mind that, okay, who am I dealing with? I'm dealing with a professional. And that also makes it easier for me to get the rates that I'm getting. Granted, they're not super high, but they're not as low as many people starting out. So it's about presenting yourself in a way that minimizes risk from the person. It's in the messages that you send. It can also be some very, very little ways. Like if you go to my LinkedIn right now and you check my location, it says I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico. If you get an email from me and you see the signature, you'll see I have a US phone number as well as a US city, state, and zip code on it at the bottom. And I am doing that intentionally just so that it's a trust signal. If I put Tanzania in that email, nobody's gonna care. If I leave it out, okay, it's more 50-50. But then if I add it in there, I'm noticing that I do get more like a positive response. And then once we get on the call, I do tell them like, hey, I'm based out here in Tanzania. That's why you can see it's the different time of day for me. But then by that point in time, you've already eliminated that bias or prejudice. It's more about, okay, who's Victor as Victor when they get on that call. So my quote unquote trick for getting around the whole, oh, you're foreign, oh, your price should be very, very low sort of thing, has been to try to present yourself as much as possible as a low risk to that client, being very, very presentable, very, very professional. I use a US address, which I have a US company, but you don't need to starting out. I use a U.S. address and just sending those signals that, hey, I'm trustworthy. I'm a native speaker. Don't mind me. Let's just focus on the work. And that's my answer to that question.
Huh. That's incredibly smart. Someone just said that in chat, and I'm just like, oh wow, I've never even thought about that, because I very rarely put my my location in emails. But that is a really, really keen sense of signaling there. Do you guys do the same thing? Do you also like include U.S. locations, or do you omit your location? What do you do, Akshay?
No, not at all. Not at all. So I also have to like schedule calls with clients, right? So my thing is like, if you put a different location, how do you map that out? How do you tell them that you are like in a different time zone, and how do you get that sorted? So I try to like just tell them the truth, and in terms of how to, like, we have our own tactics, right? It's not wrong or right, but whatever works for you, right? So in terms of how to raise your prices, how to get the right prices, I think ultimately, if you're a student of direct response copywriting, the ultimate thing that makes people pay is proof. You have to have social proof, right? But how do you get social proof when you're just like when you're just starting out? So my thing was that, you know, I like when I was starting direct response copywriting, I posted into like our Discord that I have that week I had submitted like 35 or 36 proposals, and I had gotten no reply whatsoever. So like Scott started helping me with like how to write a proposal and all that, and I reapplied, and I just kept applying and kept applying. But after a couple of weeks I realized that like you have to like you cannot just be like you have to be a little bit smart. And then I realized I have to gather some proof, and from there I went on Reddit and I talked to like random business owners. I talked to random entrepreneurs, and from there I got to like I work for free for like 2 clients, and then I asked them for a testimonial, and from that is how I started, you know, getting better rates, and I increased my conversion rates on my proposals. So I would say that work for free and get some proof first, because proof is king. Nothing, no amount of like you cannot beat social proof. You have to get it. So even if you have to work for free, or if you're not getting gigs, so you have to get proof, in my opinion.
I think that's good advice too. A lot of times when we think about working for free, it feels like someone's taking advantage of us. But you can also think of it like you did, in terms of you're making an investment in your future. You're saying, I'm willing to do this work now because it will pay off tenfold later when I'm able to get jobs consistently, or better jobs, or whatever.
Sure.
Do you do any of that, Ben?
100%.
I relate with what Victor said. Actually, you know, because I had this idea of getting a. When I created my Upwork account, I actually was about to create it as if I was from America, because a lot of gigs on Upwork, they are like asking specifically for people in America. And I actually was interested in getting a number in America and doing all that, you know. In the end, I decided just to create a first account. The first account I created on Upwork, and that's the one I'm using now. It says I'm from Argentina. So my idea was to try that, get some shows there, and maybe in the future create another one where it says I'm from the United States, or if it's possible to update this one. But I know they ask you for a phone number and all the stuff, and there are like some things you can do to actually get a phone number in the US, but it's quite complicated. But I think, well, that's a real thing. Like Victor said, if you are from another country, they will always have that objection in the back of their head, which is like a lot of objections we can relate to non-native or non-US copywriters, and of course they also will try to pay less, because that's the point of or the main thing everyone thinks about when they're hiring people, who are not from the US or not from the UK or from where the audience is. And I agree, like it's also a work of proof. You also need lots of proof. Present yourself as someone professional, so you can at least get in the beginning a fair rate and not being exploited for your work. That's
You got a +1 on proof from Sneaky Ball in the chat, so I think you
yes.
two are onto something. Sneaky Ball agrees. Mr. Benjamin, do you have anything to say on how to get paid lots of money?
Missed
What
I got
exactly is the
1,500 on my first project.
What exactly is the question? I'm not so sure what the question is.
So one thing a lot of people face, and maybe you haven't had this experience because you're out there big balling, is that if people see that you're from Tanzania or from not the US and they're out there trying to hire you, they might want to pay you a fraction of the price that they pay someone from the US because their perception is that either you're less valuable or that they can just get away with paying you less. Have you ever encountered that? Or if you haven't, do you have any tips for how someone might get around that?
Okay, maybe I should just talk about my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
So when I tried to get the first gig, after my cold email, I was asked, it was a renewal letter for a financial publisher. So I was asked my rate, and at that particular time, I was just confused. I didn't even have an idea how much I should charge them. So I was actually on the forum. Okay, I'm not going to mention that forum. So I asked a couple of people, like I just posted it on Ask that how much should I charge? And it is like on forums, I was getting different diverse opinions. And then someone told me that I feel like this is going to sound so counterintuitive, right? And maybe it's just particular to the financial niche or maybe some other niche. But someone told me that I should just tell them that I'm new to this and I'm not sure how much to charge. And that was actually what I did. I know it might sound counterintuitive, but anyway, that's what I did. I told them that I wasn't sure that how much they actually pay for that particular game. And to be honest, I wanted to charge something much less than that. And they ended up saying something higher than what I had in mind. So I just feel like maybe it's particular to my niche, or maybe I was lucky, maybe beginner's luck, or I don't know in particular. So maybe I'm not the best person to advise when it comes to pricing, right? But that was my experience.
Can I add to that?
Yeah, please go for it.
Yeah, just as a counterpoint. Because again, it's one of those, like actually said in the beginning, there's no right or wrong answer. We're just here to share our different experiences, and it's good that there's actually opposing views on something, because that shows you there's more than one way to do something. If you did this, you can change to this, or if you're doing this, you can change to this. Now, with Benjamin's counterintuitive advice to say I'm new, I don't know what to charge. It's great. It worked out for him in this situation. And as he said, it might be like maybe a financial thing, it might be whatever. In my case, I remember it took me about 4 months to get my first client, when the truth is I could have had my first client in 2 weeks. The thing that I messed up, I made a post on Reddit that got popular. I got a whole bunch of people asking me, hey, interested in a copywriter, can you help me, whatever. And about like 20 people, I told them, I was like, hey, be honest. Hey, I'm new to this. This is just I told them I'm new to this and all that sort of stuff. I was just like honest and upfront about my situation. And out of those like 20 people, nobody wanted to hear from me again. Okay, so I could have had my first client within 2 weeks of starting, but it took me 4 months. And that's because all these people in the beginning I told I was new lost interest. So for anyone who's listening, keep that in mind. Okay, there are two approaches to this. Not one is necessarily better than the other, but yeah, keep that in mind.
Okay, I'd actually like to clarify something. While I was reaching out to clients for the first time, I never mentioned that I was new to this. Yeah, I didn't do that. But I think in the financial niche, I think publishers have their different one or what they are looking for at a particular time. So I feel like this particular publisher was looking for fresh people, yeah, fresh copywriters that could actually be trained in certain, certain skills that were needed. But then again, I didn't come out saying, "Oh, I'm new to this thing. I don't know what direct response is." Nothing like that. I didn't do any of that. And then when I actually got the gig, I already got it right. I was asked to send a sample, and then I actually wrote the copy for one of their promotions that was running. Yeah, and they liked it, so they saw potential. And so that was when I decided to say, "Hey, I'm not sure how much I should charge, but just give me a rate." That's how it worked out.
And I think one thing there too is because you're doing it on the back end after they've already kind of vouched you and they've decided internally if they want to hire you. You saying that you're new there comes across as honest and genuine and forthcoming, and so it's more of a positive in that situation, especially when they're already ready to hire somebody new. I think more broadly, I definitely agree with Victor that you should never lead with, "Hey, I'm new and have no idea what I'm doing." However, there are definitely situations in which saying things that come across as genuine or revealing, like can almost feel to the client like you're making yourself vulnerable with them, like you're doing this really heartfelt thing, and so they may be more likely to like you or to hire you, as long as the thing that you're kind of admitting there is not something that's also disqualifying. So new is probably not the best one in most cases, but things like, maybe not, this is not my niche, but there are probably some things you can do there that come across as genuine that make people want to hire you.
Yeah, I think another thing is to know your audience, right? Because in the context of what Benjamin was doing, he said these guys are looking for new writers. If someone's intentionally out there looking for new writers, that becomes less of an issue if you come out and say that. Yeah. But if you think in the sense of, "Oh, I'm an established business, I want to have this project, or there's money on the line, I want to get someone who I know will knock it out the park." You see this guy on Reddit who seems to know what he's talking about, and then you talk to him and he says, "Oh, I'm new." Yeah, that's like the kiss of death. So I think if you know the person that you're talking to is looking for someone new, say that. If in most cases, most typical cases, I imagine, if you're dealing with someone, they don't want to know you're new, they want to know that they can trust you to do to do what they need done. So that context, I think that's the lesson to take away from here.
Yeah. Do we want to talk at all about English skills? I know Marcel has a bunch of experience with this. More specifically, I'm thinking like one thing I see a lot in the United States is that people are really bad at writing English. And so a lot of copy you see on websites, and I'm sure you guys have had jobs fixing these things, is really bad written copy in English. Have you guys ever felt like approaching this as from an English as a not first language perspective has made it easier to get into copy? Or harder? Or Marcelo, I see you.
Definitely harder.
Harder? Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely harder. Because it's obvious that if you are in direct response and clients are putting in money in their funnels, in their marketing campaigns, they are not going to take risks. It's all about risk, as Victor said. So they are not going to bet on a non-native copywriter whose first language is not English, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to if copywriting in itself is hard for someone, it is 10x hard or maybe 5x harder for someone who is a non-native copywriter. I look at it that way. I accept, you have to accept that it is going to be tougher. And even now, I have been writing for 6 years, but even now I make it a point to take a snippet out of every new word or every colloquial word I read, and just I keep it in a like Microsoft OneNote, so that I have to increase my vocabulary. I cannot be like, no, I'm published in Forbes, so I'm a big deal. Like I don't have to, I don't have to learn English. It's not like that. You have to learn English, and you have to get better at colloquial writing. You have to understand those idioms, and you have to practice it as a skill. So it is going to be tougher. You have to learn it,
Mhm.
and again, it comes down to being consistent and not giving up, persevering. It all comes back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think that's a skill. Sorry, English is a skill. That it may not seem that hard in the beginning to get in, but when you're actually writing and it's easier. It's always easier to read, right? But when you're writing, there are so many things that can go wrong without you even noticing that. Um, and I agree with Gupta, and in the sense that you really need to put a lot of time in English. In the beginning, I was like, all right, 20 minutes here and there, but right now my routine is I try to spend at least 30 minutes every day, and Shawnee can testify that because we are partners, accountability partners. um, what I do is try to spend 30 minutes every day learning English from a grammar perspective, because that's always super important. And then also spend at least 30 to 1 hour every day reading English, because that's the other part of it. Because you learn a lot of things. You actually get to see the language in action. You get to take notes of how it works and take on new phrases, new phrasal verbs, new ways of saying stuff, and also very important how to use on and in. That's still a big trouble for me. I know for most non-native speakers, because it's you know the basis, right, on in, but then when you're actually connecting that to other words, it's like it's easy to make mistakes with that kind of connectors. um, so that's definitely very important. It's harder to get um, into copy, unless you get clients that are not from the US that can still pay you well.
Mhm.
So my first client was not from the US, um, and I made mistakes working for him. He just won't notice. I didn't notice until later. I improved my English now, and I try to stop making them. But yeah, it's a big thing. It's a big thing. Really tackling the language is something you have to work on every day.
Do you have any resources that you would recommend, either in terms of like grammatical resources or just fun or interesting ways that you've been able to like read English?
I sure. Well, I could share. Well, Duolingo was my first, the first app, and it's so convenient, especially if you're starting out. But the trick with Duolingo is it's not breezing through it. You actually have to go through every lesson, and there's a small icon on every time you complete something that allows you to go to the comments, and there is always people asking things and people, native speakers, answering things. So that's where I really learn with Duolingo. But then I try a lot of apps. I try Italki. I try the Yankee cars. And right now I'm doing a course. So this is a full course that you do um, to to well, I don't remember the word now, but it's just to improve what I already know.
Mm.
But yeah, there are lots I can think of, because there are a lot of web pages with different approaches. I think the best thing, and what helped me the most, is reading and taking notes of phrases or things that I didn't understand, or that caught my attention because they were the way they were said, you know, because one part is reading, but then you actually have to take note of all that and go through it over and over again until it becomes part of your language and you can actually use that, you know.
Yeah.
So that's where all the work is.
SneakyBot had a question. What is it that you spend your time reading? Are you reading like marketing copy? Are you reading books? Are you reading for fun articles? What do you?
Yeah, no, right now I'm reading marketing books, copywriting books more concisely. Like right now I'm reading Cash Advertising, for example, very good book. So the main thing we're reading, what you have to be mindful of, or with, I don't remember the connector, is to pick a book that is written in plain normal English, and that's actual, you know.
Yeah.
Because if you read advertising books if you read what was this
Breakthrough advertising.
Breakthrough advertising, yeah, it's like it's an old language. It's not the way you will write, you know. I mean, it's super useful for advertising, but not for learning English. So also podcasts, very good. There's actually a podcast that helps you a lot to develop your ear while listening to English, which is called Plain English. And what they do is they talk in English, but at a slower pace, so you can actually understand every word. It's a really cool way of practicing. So yeah, that's pretty much my way of learning English. I'm still experimenting. I'm still trying a lot of things. You know, I just want to improve fast, but it's a long-term thing.
And you said it's called Plain English Podcast?
Yeah, it's called Plain English. It's on either on Google Podcasts or on Spotify. You can find it there. There's also always a word of the day or something like that, you know. So it's pretty useful to improve.
Victor and Ben, do you guys have any tips on this front or thoughts?
I have something. Maybe if Ben wants to go first.
All you?
No. Okay. With English, there's two things, right? There's the actual technical side of it, where you understand prepositions, verbs, nouns, vocabulary, and all that sort of stuff. But then there's also the other side of it, which I guess you could call it culture. Okay. Because I feel like many people have.
Hold up one sec. Ben, can you turn your volume down just a little bit, because we can hear it on. We can hear Victor talking from your phone.
Oh, so can I? Is it fixed?
Okay.
Yeah. So there's again the actual technical.
Go ahead. I'm just gonna mute him for now, and then I'll unmute in a second.
Is that for me?
No, it's reverb off of Ben's phone.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's the actual technical side of it, where you know how to speak the language, but then there's also the cultural side of it, where can you speak in a way that you're not an English second language speaker? Okay. And that's something that I've seen a lot of clients have some issues with. I could go into a whole story about that, but save that for later. Yeah. So one tip is about to get the whole cultural kind of lingo side of it. I always recommend you go to a subreddit that's called Black People Twitter. I always recommend people watching Netflix shows and consuming American media and content and things that are popular. And also part of it, like Marcelo says, listening to podcasts and immerse yourself in that culture. Because once you do that, you get to the point whereby you know the actual language, and you also know the culture and can speak in a way that someone from the US or UK or wherever your target market is actually understands and relates to. That's what's really going to take you from just being a foreign copywriter to a copywriter who just happens to be living outside of the US or UK and Australia and so on, if that makes sense. Name of the subreddit here. Let me type that in. Let me type that here. This is for if you're targeting like a super young hip audience. Black people Twitter is just a good place to get all the lingo and some of the idioms and some of the stuff. But Netflix is also a very, very good place. Watching whatever is, if you have a VPN, or you can just Google and see what's the top 10 popular shows in the US right now. Go and watch those, because you might need to make those references depending on the audience that you're talking to. So, pro tip for English.
I think that's such a good strategy too for doing research, because you can apply that to literally any kind of audience that you need to write for. So if you're writing for old conservative white Americans, you're probably not going to use Black people Twitter, but I'm sure that there are some like Facebook groups that would be really good for that, for example.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, are you back?
Oh, sorry. And bet that if you left too, I can't add him back in. Okay. Nope, not quite.
Okay.
All right, looks like he's not back yet. Here.
Is there a waiting room or something?
There is not. Here. While we're waiting for him, we at the very beginning we were talking about some other sorts of challenges that we might face that are more material. So stuff like you were saying that like electricity could be an issue, not having internet because of a political issue, not having a laptop and having to learn copy off of your cell phone for a period of time could be an issue. What are tips you have for people who might find themselves without any of those things for however long that are interested in learning copy?
Okay, there's some stuff you can control, there's some stuff that you can't control. Okay, and to highlight, for example, if you're in a situation where the electricity has been out for 12 days for whatever reason, there's just not much that you can do in that situation. Okay, and even saying, hey, move to a different country, that's not an answer. There's just certain realities where we don't like to say it, but it's true that you are just screwed and there's nothing that you can do. Okay, but there are some cases where it's just a matter of, oh, you need to suffer. Because I was dealing with power outages during the day, and if it's going out during the day, then I have to spend time and work through the night. I'd go to bed at like 2 a.m. in the morning, because there was from like 10 p.m. to like 2 p.m. electricity was fairly reliable. I'd do all my work in that time to 2 a.m., go to sleep, wake up at 7, and then I go to work. And I go to work, I finish that, come home at 6 until 10, there's no electricity, wait for it to come back on, and then do it that way. There's some things that you're just going to have to deal with that. If you have a situation where your political situation is messed up, you have, like for here in Tanzania during the election, internet was down for 2 weeks. And that's just from knowing first in your country. Like I know the internet service providers reset around midnight. There's some reset and stuff that they use, because I noticed my phone would always lose connection around midnight, and then internet would come back on like 10 minutes later. So I figured if they're rebooting whatever on their side, maybe that block that they were doing on the internet would be open. It would take some lag between it turning on and that block turning on. And I was right. So I managed to have like a 15-minute window where I could go online and find a VPN and download that. And then with that VPN, because you're using a VPN and they can't block that, I've been able to access the internet throughout that time. So if you don't have a VPN, get one. It's one of those things that can really, really save your life and has a whole lot of benefits. But if you're in a situation with that, you can do it that way. Another problem with electricity. Here, you see my phone is plugged in. And unfortunately, there has been a power cut in like 4 days, but I always keep my phone plugged in all the time. Keep my laptop plugged in all the time. So if electricity goes out at any point in time, I have at least like 4 hours of work that I can do. I also have power banks to help in that situation. And there are times where I've had to just use my phone and a power bank to do research, a pen and paper to write the copy and draft stuff. And then when electricity comes back on, type it all up into, I know Ben's smiling, type it all up onto the computer and then deal with that way. So you're going to have to suffer really. And realize that you're doing this for a reason because you're going to face a lot of hardships. Realize that you're doing this for a reason. The reason that I'm doing this is because it's either I do this or I know what's waiting for me if I don't. A $300 a month office job, 2 hours traffic on the way and 2 hours traffic on the way back, which is a life I do not want to live. So I'd rather lose sleep. I'd rather deal with racism. I'd rather deal with bias. I'd rather deal with all this nonsense that. So I've decided, you know what, I'm going to power through and fix all that sort of stuff. So you have to make your own same decision, find your own motivation, and then figure out what you can do in your own circumstance.
Ben, do you have anything to add to that, especially on the topic of having to work off of your cell phone?
I do have a lot to say about that. I hope you guys can hear me. You can hear me, right?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. So I'd say when I started out, I didn't have a laptop. I just had an Android phone, which was actually faulty. It kept on hanging and stuff like that. But I think if you know what you're going for, and you actually know that this particular skill is not an average skill, it's something that isn't all that easy. If not, everyone would have been doing it, right? So if you know that it isn't easy, I took the fact that I didn't have a laptop as one of those challenges you have to face when you're pursuing something that isn't easy to master. Yeah. So, but the biggest issue I had, you would be surprised, the biggest issue wasn't about typing on my phone. The biggest issue I had was annotating on my phone. That was like crazy. So I had to like use my finger and stuff like that. And I just got used to it, I guess. I just had to do it, so I got used to it. And then I had challenges like electricity, like Victor said. Like the power could go out. Sometimes it was really crazy. It could go out for like days. And you know, since I was already using a phone, I had like a power bank where I would charge and then I would go back to my phone and then I'd get back to work. But the crazy thing about working on your phone is that if you're trying to do it at night, you know, if you're pulling an all-nighter and you're doing it on your laptop, you sit there, right? And then you're typing. But if it's a phone, you might decide to sit down, you might decide to relax, and you could doze off. That's just a big disadvantage. You could doze off, yeah. So I just had to look for different ways to go about it. So what I'd say when it comes to challenges, this is what I'd like to point out. If you understand what you're pursuing and you understand that this thing isn't easy, it isn't easy, right? It isn't easy. So when you look at these problems like electricity, not having a laptop, you have to use the phone, just look at it as one of those challenges you have to face. It's just that simple. Like a challenge you have to face to achieve something that isn't easy to achieve, just that simple. That's just like a challenge you have to.
Yeah, no, I I can relate to that, and I can relate to what Victor said, like of having your phone always charged too. Because here where I'm, infrastructure is a disaster, you know. So just yesterday, I didn't have power because a pole had fallen down and it took a while for it to get back. So yeah, I think always having a backup, you know, that can be a lifesaver. I mean, I write copy. A lot of the copy I write is from the phone. Like even when there is power, I just write from the phone because it's so convenient. Uh, so yeah, it's always good. It can help a lot. I'll get a generator, like they say in the chat, you know, that can help too.
Oh, one more tip just to add. It depends on your situation. In my case, in pretty much every town over here, when there's a power outage, you tend to notice that the rich neighborhoods don't have those outages. So if there's a coffee shop or some kind of like public place where you can go and plug your laptop in or plug in your phone and charge and then work from there, look for those places. Because when it's in the middle of the day and there's no electricity, it's been going on for 2 days, you have something that's due in 1 week and you haven't started on it and you need to do something, find somewhere in town that has electricity and you can go. Another option is if you happen to have a friend or a neighbor who have a generator, you can go and ask nicely that they could help you just to charge your stuff as well. But when you're charging stuff on generators, be careful about like power, because sometimes you could wind up burning your electronics. So just be aware of that. But yeah, get resourceful. If you're going to do this from the places that we're coming from, you cannot be the type of person who's like, oh, okay, so I guess that's it. I'm just not gonna do it. No, you gotta be resourceful. You gotta figure out what can I do. If you don't know anything to do, ask people, ask your mom, ask your dad, ask your neighbor, ask your friends, ask someone, and they can give you ideas specific to your location that you can do it. You might find, oh, there's this little coffee shop somewhere in this corner of town. They always have a generator, so you can go and charge your stuff there, and then boom, you have your solution. So keeping that out there.
Okay. I'd like to make some comment on that. So right now, I'm all the way at my friend's place because I have electricity. So actually, I'm writing a long form copy here, and for a while now, I've not had light, and I haven't even used my laptop. I think so far, I've written this long form sales letter. I've written about 80% of it on my phone. Now I have a laptop, yeah, but the electricity issue is just crazy. And you know, the power for laptops doesn't last that long. So I have power banks for my phone, yeah. And initially, when I had the light issue, I found places like Victor said, really good tip. I found shops around that I could actually charge my power banks, and then I could then go back to my phone and stuff. But it's tough. It's tough using your phone for that long to write copy. So I had to go all the way to visit my friends so I could actually use my laptop to keep on writing. So these are just things you face, and then you have to find out a way to, to go around it. That's basically it. And I can't make comments because I'm using my phone for the call. So maybe I'll drop my email after everything. So maybe you guys could reach out to me.
Yeah. So when you're talking to clients, and you may or may not be saying where you are in the world, when you're talking about deadlines, do you internally have an idea of how much of a buffer you need just in case something happens? Like, and you lose electricity or you lose access to the internet? Are you thinking like, I need to have a week or so? I need to have everything done a week or so beforehand?
Benjamin.
Or whoever.
I'd say I always figure out the way around it. I never really mentioned that I have bad electricity and stuff like that. That's crazy, right?
Yeah.
I just always figure out the way around it. I don't mention it.
Yeah, and I agree with that because, again, going back to what I said earlier about minimizing that risk, don't tell them, oh, I have unstable electricity or there's a dictator taking over my country, because that's kind of, ooh, okay, maybe I might need to look for someone new kind of situation. So when it comes to promising deadlines and so on, you know your place best, okay, and you know your situation best. There's no real easy guideline that can take. Like, for example, where I am right now, I don't plan for that because I don't have too many electricity issues, and if I do, I can just get $20 and fill up the generator and have electricity, no problem. So I don't account for that right now. Back when I used to, in Kilimanjaro, when I used to have these issues, it would get so bad. I say if some projects takes 1 week, I'm gonna say 2 weeks. Like if a project takes 3 weeks, I'm gonna say 4. I just wanna give myself that extra buffer for if stuff goes wrong. And let me put it this way, no client has ever gotten upset that you delivered something early. So if it takes you If you say 4 weeks and you deliver it in 3, they will love you for it. But if you say 3 weeks because you know that's how much it will take, and then you have electricity issues here, and it takes you a couple of days to figure out a workaround, and you deliver it on week 4, they're going to be mad. So that's
I want to say something about generators. Those things can't be trusted. I actually have about 2 in my house, but they keep giving me issues. I keep repairing, and then they keep giving me issues. And I just have to give up. So sometimes it can be really crazy.
I guess on the topic of electricity, and by on the topic of electricity, I mean having nothing to do with that. How do you guys negotiate or figure out setting up profiles for things like Upwork or setting up bank accounts from out of country, or when those things are prohibited in your country?
Oh, I get the feeling this is the part where everyone's gonna just look at me and my PayPal and be setting up a US LLC and so on. Okay, it's in Tanzania, PayPal is not allowed. You can send money out the country, meaning I can go buy stuff on Amazon or whatever with my PayPal, with my Tanzanian PayPal account, but I can't receive money in it, right? Which creates this problem where many clients prefer paying by PayPal, and I don't have that. So explaining the full process is pretty much a whole call on its own, and I might post another one anytime soon. But yeah, it's basically, I registered an LLC in the United States. And LLC, once I got everything registered for that, I had the documents necessary to open up a business bank account. There are certain platforms that favor like foreign business owners. I open an account there, and once I have that official account, I can hook up and set up PayPal for that. So I have a US PayPal to receive payments from clients, and when I need that money, I wire transfer it to myself here in Tanzania, which is how I receive payments and how I get around that issue. Again, I know there's that question in chat. How do you set up an LLC there? It's a long process. There's not much good information about it online. In the end, I'll probably talk about another call. I can figure that out and go over that, but that's not the topic right now. That's what I did to get around it. I'm not sure how my friends on here handle that payment issue, because I don't know what it's like in your countries. I know Nigeria also PayPal doesn't work, but you guys Benjamin, you can talk more about that.
All you, Ben.
I just feel like our experiences are so different, right? Victor, you and I, we have very different experiences, because you had issues with PayPal. My country also has issues with PayPal. It's the same thing he said. I think you can send, but you can't receive and stuff like that. And actually, when I was starting out, I thought I was going to use PayPal, so I was freaking out. And I was reading stuff, a bunch of stuff on how I could actually solve the PayPal problem. But then, when I started getting gigs, it was a direct transfer, yeah? And so I'm just thankful that I didn't have to go through that process of trying to figure out PayPal.
So direct transfer from bank to bank, just to clarify for everyone who's listening, right?
Yeah.
To your account in Nigeria.
Yeah, direct.
And is it a USD account? Is it a Naira account? Is it?
At first I had a Naira account. So when they did the transfer, the banks just converted it. Yeah? But now I use a USD account. So just a direct transfer.
What's it like in India and Argentina? I'm curious.
In India, yeah. In India, it is it is rather easy, relatively easy, because we have PayPal here. We can use PayPal to receive and send funds, but we cannot store funds in PayPal. We cannot keep funds in PayPal. And we can also connect our bank account with Upwork or Fiverr or those other platforms. So it is relatively easy here. We don't face the same problem, but currently I'm using Payoneer because PayPal has a crazy service fee on each transaction. I kind of don't like it. So I I like to keep my money, so I use Payoneer, and they also have Payoneer also has a global payment service where you can create a USD like American bank account, and you can get all the like it's all virtual, and you get all the details. So it's like you can use those American bank account details on Upwork, and you don't have to pay any fee on Upwork also. So you save the service fee on each transaction.
Nice.
Here we have a similar problem with PayPal. It's like you can use it. You're free to use it. You're not free to get paid the way you should, because the government takes like 50% of what you make right away. But I still use PayPal because it's convenient for my clients. I actually started using Pioneer, and it's really interesting. It's really convenient because, well, it's just another way of doing it, and the fact that they also give you the bank accounts. It's like you have more control of your money. So I started with that. I maybe would like to use Payoneer again in the future, but so far I'm using PayPal. It's just a matter of convenience at this point.
And how do those conversations go when you're trying to negotiate using something that isn't PayPal? Do you have to get a lot of client buy-in? Is that relatively easy? Is that hard?
Is that for me?
For either of you, I'm sorry.
So, Marcel, will you go on?
Yeah, no, I was going to say I didn't quite understand the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. So when you're proposing to a client, they're like, okay, I want to pay you. And you're like, hey, can you pay me through Payoneer? Do people tend to know what that is? Do you have to sell them on it? How does that go?
So PayPal, since everyone knows it, so I just use it.
Mm-hmm.
The one time I used Pioneer, that's what I liked about it, because they give you a few international accounts, and this client was from Spain, so he can like make the payment to a bank account in Spain, and then Pioneer pays you. So that's really convenient. That like you don't have to sell anything because it's just a bank transfer in that case.
Mm-hmm.
But then I tried to use Payoneer with another client, but it was so complicated for him to pay me through it. So we just ended up doing PayPal, and like everyone knows PayPal at this point.
Gotcha. Akshay?
So on my end, I've had PayPal from the first day I started freelancing. So I learned pretty early in my career that I need to have PayPal, because everyone like on earlier it was Elance, right? Before it rebranded to Upwork, or maybe Upwork acquired Elance. So when I started from Elance, I just connected my account to Elance, and I also created a PayPal account. So as I said, it was relatively easier for me, so I didn't have those problems. And you need to have you have to make it easy for the client. Ultimately, wherever you are, whether you are in Nigeria, or South Africa, or US, or India, ultimately you are providing a service, and the harder you make it for them, the less likely they are to continue working with you. So
yeah, facts.
Huh. 1 second, we're just gonna fix something. All right, sorry about that. So go ahead. You want something else?
No, like I was reading off the sheet, but you go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Well, I guess what do you want to talk about?
I just wanted to leave a point about time zones.
Oh yeah.
In my case, might be different. Again, as you're all noticing, there's different ways that people are dealing with the issues here on this call. In my case, I'm all about just like minimizing that friction when it comes to dealing with clients. So I even adjust my schedule to working a lot of my time overlapping to US time zones. And I always, again, in part of that also like hiding my location. I really like services like Calendly, like TidyCal, any of these. It doesn't matter which it is. If it's something that allows you, hey, you can go to my calendar and pick a time, as long as you're aware that people in that time zone, this time for me will be that time for them. So in my case, evening will be morning for them. I don't set up that they can book a call with me 3 a.m. in the morning because that's just weird. But something that's about anywhere from 7 to 10, which in my case here is later in the evening. I send that to them as options for time to book a call. They see it's 7, 10 a.m. at their local time. No red flags or whatever, no yellow flags pop up. And I've just accepted that my life now is working from 1 p.m. to 9 p.m., being my work hours around there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some people might say, oh yeah, that sucks. I want to have a social life. But hey, I want to be a copywriter and I am where I am. So this is what I got to deal with. You might need to make the same changes or figure out some other different solution when you're further out east. For example, actually, I do not know how you're managing this right now because you're so far ahead of like US time zones. So I'm curious to hear from you about that.
So yeah, for me, I think like typically I work from like 12 noon to like late into the night, like till 11 p.m. or like sometimes even 12 a.m. So I'm working with an agency and we have daily meetings, like we have 10-minute long meetings daily. And those meetings are like at 8:30 p.m. my time. So as I said, you have to adjust for the client. If you are getting paid in US dollars and you are spending in Indian money or Nigerian money, or it is a huge advantage, right? And you are going to have to like sacrifice your schedule for it because it's not that of a big deal. We are all we can all manage that, and we can find some time for our like Victor said, he doesn't have a like social life. I don't have much of a social life either. Although I'm a huge introvert, but I can like you can go out on the weekends. Nobody's stopping you. Like clients in the US, like they don't work on weekends. In India, like if you work in an Indian company, there are many Indian companies that even work on Saturdays, that are working Saturdays. So it's better than working for US clients and taking like I'm working with an agency and it feels so good. Like I have 2 days for myself. I feel so privileged. So I don't have any problems in terms of schedule or anything. It's just that you have to like find a balance in terms of servicing the client versus being comfortable yourself. I think.
I think that's so important too. Because the balance isn't just what are you doing for the client, it is what is making you happy. And so if working evenings for the rest of your life is going to make you really unhappy, then this may not be the field for you.
Oh,
Or maybe if I
oh, sorry.
no, go on.
It's something that anyone should keep in mind if they're finding that a problem is you need to realize that you're starting out, okay, and you're not just starting out, you're starting out outside of those countries. So you have an even bigger mountain to climb, okay? If you're, hey, I'm a copywriter, I've done 50 million in sales, I have like this YouTube channel that has 10,000 subscribers and people know me on LinkedIn and whatever. If I tell someone that I only take calls in this time, I have more negotiation power that way. Okay, so it's not going to be for the rest of your life, but you might need to hustle for that 1, 2, 3, 4, first 5 years it might take to establish yourself. Once you're more established, you can kind of set more of your own terms. But if you're starting out and saying, oh no, I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want to have this thing all happen on my terms. There's thousands of copywriters in those countries that they can just go to who will work on their terms because it's the same hours. So if you say, oh, this is going to be a deal breaker for me, then just save your time and quit right now. But it's not going to be for the rest of your life. It's going to be for a time until it takes for you to establish yourself. And then as you go on, you can kind of start setting those boundaries and times for yourself. Like, for example, right now, I used to be up until like 2, 3. There was one call. Oh my God. I got up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get on this call because I really wanted this gig, right? Um, but right now, since I already have like a retainer gig going, I have some projects coming in that's doing relatively good money. It's like if someone wants me to call at 4 a.m., I'm like, I'm sorry, no, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I can go up to 10 p.m. That's me, but I'm not gonna do 4 p.m. And then as time goes on, I'm very sure that's gonna like change. But just keep that in mind. It's not something you're committing to forever. You just need to know that in the beginning, you have a whole lot more to prove and a whole lot more work to do before you can get a point that you can say you can live this stuff. You can do this stuff on your terms.
Yeah. And something else there too, because one objection I hear to the idea that you just said about having to bust your ass a little bit harder early on is that people don't want to work on other people's terms. But the reality is that no matter what job you're in, no matter where your boss or your client is located, you're always going to be working on someone else's terms. And so what you have to decide is, are you willing to have a little bit of a harder challenge early on so that you can have way more rewards later? Or do you want to have less challenge early and then not be compensated as well? There's a good question here. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I know I actually wanted to say something on this topic.
Yeah, go for it.
No, I just said I agree. I agree with Rod. You have to like make sacrifices. Like I don't want to get all motivational, but I think that you have to work hard for it, and you need to know that you have to work harder than a native copywriter. If you are an ESL copywriter, you have to like, if you are not like, if you think of yourself that I'm just going to work 3 or 4 hours a day, and I'm going to, maybe I'll get some clients after a month, and then I'll come into Discord and I'll ask like Rod or Akshay or Victor some questions. They'll mentor me, and maybe I'll find some. You cannot keep that attitude. You cannot be half-assed about it. You have to like put your heart into it. It can literally change your life. It has changed mine. I'm pretty comfortable right now. I've dealt with a lot of like, as I said, financial stress. It can literally change your life. So why are you not like putting in the work? So that is my point.
Did we lose Marcelo?
Yeah, I think
We lost him.
and I think I saw one of his lights go out. I don't know if he's having electricity issues. But...
Oh no. Again, non-Anglosphere copywriting problems. There we go.
comes with the territory.
That's how it goes.
He had like someone come into his room and flicker the light first, just to set that up for this, so we could make that joke. Hopefully he comes back. I saw an interesting question in chat that I don't know the answer to at all. Have any of you guys worked with clients from the UK?
I have for like a couple of years. My best client was in the UK. So, yeah.
And so, I guess how is that different in terms of expectations that those clients had? Was it any different? And then two, it's a little bit different for you actually, but is the time working with the time zone a little bit better there too?
Like the UK time zone is more like matched up with India. Definitely, it's just 3 hours of difference. But the time zone didn't matter as such, because he was just giving me assignments and he just wanted me to turn them around on a set deadline. So there was no like, he didn't used to communicate much even. So there was no point of like, there was no problem as like in regards to time zone. But in general, I find that clients from the UK and US are far more lucrative, of course, because of the like purchasing power parity and all that. But also like they are very professional, and God forbid if you get a client from India, you are going to like be squeezed to the last ounce, because they like, it's very hard to work with Indian clients. I have worked with a couple early on in my career, but UK clients are really good. I had that client for like almost 3, maybe 4, even 4 years. I used to do content writing. I used to write blogs for him, and he even we used to. I could just send him a message on Skype, and he would make sure that I got some work within a week or within a month. We developed a good relationship. So yeah, I had a good experience.
Awesome. You said you had two, Victor?
Yeah, I had a client from the UK, and honestly, it is so much better when you deal with clients outside of the US, because if it's one thing I've noticed, it's that US clients tend to prefer working in US time, but then UK and Australia clients have this appreciation that the world is not US time. So they're more flexible in terms of like when they'd like to meet.
Mhm.
So if you can get a client who's some even have US based businesses, but they're living outside the country, they're really, really flexible with time, and they get it a whole lot more than US clients tend to. So that might be something that if someone's especially worried starting out about, I won't have a life, or I'll be doing weird time zones or whatever, try and, if you can, try and find clients in that kind of like situation.
Huh. And we did get confirmation from Marcelo, by the way, his power did go out.
Yeah. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, I hope his phone is charged.
Hope it was plugged in just like yours.
Yeah.
Before we're starting to get low on time, but before we close or get to the audience Q&A, I want to talk a little bit about starting out specifically as a copywriter. Were there any resources that you guys found particularly helpful when you were learning copy? You mentioned earlier, Victor, that there are, or maybe it was Marcelo, that there are a lot of books that people recommend that are very wordy, that are not in the kind of English you'd want to use, that may be a little bit difficult to understand. What have you found helpful?
Okay. When you're starting out, one thing that happens is many of us might be starting out in situations where we don't even have much disposable income in our own countries, right?
Yeah.
And then now you're faced with a problem of having to pay for books, having to pay for courses in Indian rupees, in Nigeria, in Naira, in Tanzanian shillings, which that exchange rate is great when you're getting it, but when you're paying it, it's very, very painful starting out. So my big advice for people is, number one, find spaces where people have done what you want to do. Like the Discord is the Discord that we kind of like organize this stuff in. Someone please share a link in that right now while I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
It's a very, very good place to ask questions and hear from people sharing from their experiences, and maybe videos and some webinars and whatever stuff that we do. Most of it, almost pretty much all of it, is free. Other places is focus on books. Don't be, I swear to God, do not look at a course until you've gotten, like, there's about 10 foundational books, which all in all should cost you anywhere from like 50 to 100 bucks. I'm not saying that's a small amount of money. I'm saying you can get 10 books that'll cover everything you need to know, or you can buy one course for like $500 that barely teaches you what you need to know. Okay, so talk to people, learning from people who have practical experience. And number two, get books, get courses out of your mind when you're starting out. Focus on books. Kindle is amazing. I've got so many books on Kindle, it's ridiculous, right? Because you don't need to worry about shipping, you don't need to worry about these things. Or maybe if you have a very active bookstore, or like the book scene in your place is pretty big, you can go and find your local library. Maybe you can check on like messaging boards. If some people are selling books, then some of them you might find books about marketing. Do it that way when you're starting out and you don't have that much money for resources. Eventually, as you build up more money, yeah, I buy courses a little more than I should, to be honest. But yeah, so starting out, focus on books, focus on talking to people and getting client work under your belt. And another thing is, many people, especially when you're starting out, and this also might play into the factor that when you're starting out, outside of the country, you might have this whole complex of I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough. You need to don't get caught up in reading and studying in books and courses and YouTube videos and so on. I know people who've been doing that for like 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, a year before even trying to find a client. Okay. My regimen is, I'll need to dig this up somewhere, and I don't know how I'll share it, but I'll probably email it for the people who signed up by email. I read 3 books, and then I started looking for clients, and I told myself I am not going to read another book or get another course until I find a client. So having a same mentality will really I see someone on the chat saying you're talking about me here. Having that same mentality when you're starting out will really help when you're light on resources.
So maybe I could say a thing or two about that. While you're starting out, I think that's a tough place to be, especially when you don't have resources yet. You don't have money, you don't even know what to read, and you don't know a lot of things. But one thing I'd recommend, and I think Victor already said it, I feel like Victor keeps on reading my mind, keeps on saying a lot of things I want to point out, is that you actually need a community. That helps a lot because the guys out there have gone through that stage and they could point out things to you. And I'll use myself as an example. I didn't have money. I didn't have money for books, let alone courses. And I'd say I know that feeling where you read the sales promotion for a course, yeah? And then after reading it, you're so excited, you feel like this is going to help you, but you can't afford it. And it's actually crazy. But what I would say is...
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Marcelo's in the chat room. He's raising his hand.
Yeah, I just brought him back.
Yeah. Oh, okay, right. Sorry, Benjamin. Yeah, please continue.
Yeah. So like I said, so what you could actually do is you could get those resources that are available, those ones you can get, right? Like books, you could read blog posts online, and you could actually also get advice and tips from guys who have already experienced this. And I see that it's very easy to fall into the trap where, like Victor pointed out again, where you could actually want to spend a lot of time studying. And I think I would have fallen into that trap if it wasn't for a friend who pointed out to me that, dude, if you want to be a copywriter, you actually have to write copy. You can't just spend a lot of time. I was actually analyzing sales letters, I was annotating, and but it was like, I don't see you as a copywriter because you haven't actually written any copy for a client. So there has to be that stage. You're never going to be ready. Like, I don't think there's anyone who started out and then he felt like, oh, I'm ready. I want to go kick some ass and write some copy. You'll never be ready. But you just have to take that step. You have to try it out because you get to learn in the process. A copywriter is someone that writes copy, not someone that reads books. Not someone that annotates sales letters. No, that's not a copywriter, right? So you actually have to take that step and reach out to people. It's very helpful. Yes, that's what I have to say generally.
One thing I found that's helpful for getting around that sort of the paralysis when you are just like, I need to read more, I need to do more courses, I need to learn more, is just to give yourself, it's not just to stop completely, but give yourself a time limit every day. Say you're going to give yourself 30 minutes or an hour that you will read, and you call that like continuing education, and then you will read for an hour a day, but then like no more. And then you actually have to work for the rest of the day if you want to be a copywriter and write the copy.
I'd like to say something because, sorry, someone asked about hand copying a sales letter. I think that's good. You could do like one. That just helps you get into the flow of the language of copywriting, yeah? But you don't want to spend so much time doing that. Just after you've done that like once, then you move on to other things, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can I add one more thing?
Of course.
Since we're among friends, and Benjamin said something that reminded me, which is, again, I'm all about transparency. I'm just going to be dead honest. I'm not going to lie, okay? Starting out, I did pirate courses and some stuff to watch, okay? it's something that I did do. If you have the money for it to pay for it, please do. Like, for example, these days, since I have that money, I'm like, okay, if I want something, I'm going to pay for it because it's only fair for me to do that right now. If you're starting out and you only have like $30 in your bank account, do what you need to do. And if that involves piracy to learn what you need to learn, go for it. But on the caveat that when you start making money, do not be that person who has $2,000 in their bank account. And I'm like, oh, how can I get a free copy of cash advertising? Can I get a free copy of breakthrough advertising? No. Learn what you need to learn. If that involves piracy, so be it. Make your money. When you make your money, get it legit. Again, I'm saying that just because we're among friends here, but
Victor about to get FBI on his ass. FBI.
Hey, I paid for everything I stole.
I also want to point out something. Someone mentioned in the comment section that it's good to subscribe to email newsletters, and that helps me actually. You should subscribe so you get to see what those guys are doing, and that's what you are going to do eventually. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, someone just said this in chat, but I think the transparency, Victor, is good. I think a lot of people find themselves in a position where you can't afford to buy a book, or you can't afford to get the one thing you think you need to give you the skills you need to actually earn the money that would let you buy the thing in the first place. And while it's bad to steal books, if that allows you to buy a bunch more books in the future, then like it's not the worst thing in the world, and people shouldn't feel bad if that's their situation, especially if you're coming from a situation where that book isn't even priced for you. If that book is the price of, I don't know, like a week's worth of food, like it's kind of hard to justify that.
You have to do what you have to do, right?
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
So when I was starting out, I read Kyle Milligan's book, Take Their Money. And I think if someone is starting out, they should definitely read it, because it is very concise, and it focuses on the fundamentals. And Kyle also mentions that you cannot learn copywriting, direct response copywriting, by reading 10 or 20 books, although it helps. But the foundational skill is like practicing writing sales letters or emails or landing pages or whatever it is. So you have to start writing copy. So what I did is I somehow got hold of a portfolio of a very successful direct response copywriter, and and I went through it one by one, and I just picked like 5 or 6 pieces of copy, and then I wrote my own versions of it, and then those versions went into my portfolio. So you just have to get stuff and rewrite stuff. It works much better than waiting for 3 or 4 months and going through courses and procrastinating on pitching clients. So I would much rather suggest read 1 or 2 books and then just start practicing copywriting. Start practicing writing sales letters or whichever style you want to work with.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Sure.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, no, I completely agree with what has just been said. Because something I usually see, and we all see it, is that there are always people selling courses that will try to sell the idea that you need a course to do copywriting. And although it can help you, the truth is to get started, you don't need to pay practically for anything except for a good book. Like everything you need to know about advertising, for example, is in breakthrough advertising, or you will read that book and you already know more than 90% or more of marketers right now. Or Great Leads, another great book if you want to write sales letter or you want to master the art of writing things that attract people from the very beginning. So that's the thing, and just like they was mentioned, the other great stuff you can do is hand copying sales letter, or just copying, or just dissecting them and learn from them. Mainly it's about the niche you're interested in. So it's like a lot about researching that niche and copying what other people are doing, because that's what will help you improve your craft. So it's like upfront investment is almost zero. Like it's just a few bucks. There is no. The hard part about copywriting is getting actually good at it. So, but that requires a lot of practice, requires a lot of plan work. And the sooner you can get it started, the better. Like some of the best copywriters I know, they started writing copywriting after just reading one book or two books. Of course, there are a lot of variables. For example, you can get a good mentor to someone that can actually give you feedback that will help you improve a lot. But usually, to get a mentor, you first have to offer something, and that something is a copy that's decent at least, and of course, money. But unless, I mean, there are many ways of getting a mentor, right? But before getting a mentor, and even before asking for critiques, you should be doing that. Sorry, that's my cat. Doing all that by yourself, because it will be far easier, and you won't have the pressure of following someone else's agenda. So yeah.
I think that's great. Let's open up the audience Q&A. I know we've been taking questions from them kind of sporadically throughout this, but I think now is a good time before we wrap up to just do some dedicated question and answer. Okay.
All right. Before we jump into questions, can you say something that I forgot to say before? When we were talking about improving English, and all that, writing in English, if it's not your first language, like you're still improving your English, I think the best thing you can do is getting a proofreader or editors, because that will help you a lot. In the end, paying for a proofreader is fairly cheap. You can find native proofreaders on the internet, on all places. Discord, for example, there are a lot of servers of people, a lot of language exchange servers, for example, and you can find proofreaders there, and they might charge you like $15 an hour, $15 for 1 hour of proofreader, or $18 for 1 hour of proofreader. And in 1 hour, you can go through a lot of copy. So in the end, it's you start managing. If that's a thing for you, a problem, English, you're gonna start managing it as a business. I know it's hard in the beginning, especially like when you're getting your first clients, but it's always good to get someone else, to work with someone else that can make sure you're not making mistakes. Because the first thing that will lead to you losing a client if they say you're making mistakes in English of any kind. So in the end, it's a business expense, but it's a fairly cheap expense. And just by paying for proofreaders, you're already solving a lot of stuff, because the rest of the thing is just your skill as a copywriter, and copy is more about ideas. It's not just language. So there is like what you sell and how you sell it. But apart from that, if English is a problem, then that can help you a lot.
Go ahead. I think that's great advice. And for people who are a part of the Discord server, I'll keep posting the link throughout this. If you post things in the critiques channel, people are often willing to give your stuff at least like a cursory proofread without it even paying for it. That's probably not a great long-term solution, but especially when you're starting off and trying to get a grasp of where you are in terms of your grammar. I think that's a good resource that definitely everyone should take advantage of. I think Grace in chat had a question. Did you want to ask in voice, Grace?
I think Grace raised her hand.
Oh, there we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Am I clear now?
Yep, you're great. Go ahead.
I can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. So I'd asked this question to someone whose copywriting course I paid for, and he hasn't responded with me. I guess he's been too busy. So I'm asking it here. I'm a corporate trainer and I'm like a consultant that works with other organizations, and I'm transitioning into copywriting. So normally I'm hired to train organizations. I help productivity and performance. And I have discovered that selling our services was one of the aspects of our job. We're not able to get so many people to subscribe or pay for our services. And that's one of the things that got me interested in copywriting. Now, as I transition out of corporate training, the niche I am interested in is serving consultants, coach, and helping fill that void. I'm told that that's like information marketing space. So I'm in a fix between information marketing and personal development. And I was looking to merge both. Is there a thing like that, a hybrid, maybe selling my services to trainers, coaches, consultants in the personal development space? I don't know, does it make sense? But I was trying not to go too far out on a limb. I wanted to start with something I'm familiar, something I'm familiar with, something that I still have relevant experience on. I don't know if you understand my question. Please confirm if you do.
Yeah, I think the simple answer to your question is yes, you can do that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Victor? Were you trying to say something? Sorry.
No, yeah, I if that's something that you want to do, you can do that. In terms of, I think maybe the question, I might have understood it differently. You're asking if there is a combination between information marketing and consultants, coaches, trainers. Okay. I don't think there's a separation between the two, because it's consultants, coaches, and trainers. They all offer a service, but many of them also sell, like a trainer, I sell my ebook on how to lose 10 pounds in a week. Or if it's someone who's a consultant, this is how you hire a virtual assistant. Or if it's someone who's a coach, this is a perfect, like, millionaire morning routine, just pulling from clients that I've written for before. So yes, the market you're looking for does exist. And in fact, a lot of information products are from those people who are coaches, consultants, trainers. And some of it does go into personal development, where you have like things like self-confidence, where you have things like social skills and so on. It's a very, very broad space. You're going to find all sorts of people in there. Leveraging your experience as someone who's done corporate trainings and so on, you might not be directly applicable to those people, because those people are doing mainly B2C, in the sense that I'm a coach and I'm training someone else to be a coach, whereas your experience is to be, it sounds like I'm training other companies. I'm hired by other companies to train their staff. There might be that mismatch there, but it's not something that, I can't figure out, I'm stuck, I can't do anything. No, it's something that you can definitely transition from one to the other. I don't know if anything I said was relevant, but yeah, that's my take on it.
I also see that she's asking if she should niche down or not. And I think you can decide to niche down or not. I think that's the personal thing. You either choose to be broad when you're starting out. And I think a lot of people recommend that you're broad while starting out, so that you can find what fits you. But also some people just niche down from the beginning. So I think you have to decide on your own. But whichever decision you make, either to niche down or not, I think those two routes are still viable. They're viable, yeah? You could still make something out of it. And I want to give a shout out to Bernard. I see you're dropping a lot of value in the comment section. Thank you, bro. That's really nice. And also, sorry, I I I saw an earlier question. Someone asked about cold emailing. I don't know. Can I answer that? Someone asked me personally about cold emailing, how I go about it. Can I go ahead with that? Can I answer that?
Yeah, of course.
That okay. So I'd say while starting out, I did a lot of cold emailing, and with time I got to figure out a couple of things while cold emailing. And one of the things I got to figure out, especially since the fact that I was cold emailing guys that were probably getting a lot of emails daily because I was emailing the Agora guys, right? Publishers and stuff like that, that are under the Agora branch. So one thing I noticed was that the most important thing while cold emailing is for you to grab their attention in the subject line. Like even though what is inside your email has a lot of value and it's something that could be very useful to them, like hiring you could be very useful to them. If they don't open your email, then that's just useless, right? So the first thing I noticed was that your subject line has to be really catchy. Sometimes you have to go overboard. It depends. But you just have to first grab their attention in your subject line. And then while in the email itself, one thing I noticed was that right from the onset, you have to offer value. Like a lot of people, while cold emailing, they're talking about themselves and they come off needy. The most important thing is to offer value. Now, I can't spend too much time talking about cold emailing because I think it's very broad and there's just a lot of strategies you could use. I think maybe if you reach out to me, I could give you some more tips on that. But basically, grab their attention. Inside the email, you have to offer value. Yeah, you have to let them know that you understand their business, and then you have to make them understand that you could be of great service to them. Yeah, so that's basically what I would say.
I think that's great. Do we have any more questions in chat? It's your time to ask literally anything. Not literally anything, but almost anything. You can either raise your hand or type your question in chat, and I'll try to get to you.
What platforms work best for building credibility? The question from Grace.
I think I would personally prefer LinkedIn because most clients would ask for your LinkedIn if they even ask for a social profile. So I would focus on making sure you write your LinkedIn profile like your resume. It should be very professional, and you should your profile should be written up like a proper resume, and it should detail all of your accomplishments and all of your wins you've had in direct response copy. So in my profile, I'll share my profile later, and in my profile I have shared some of my testimonials from my clients. So that is a good strategy to build up some authority, some credibility.
Yeah, in terms of platforms, I have some, because when I started out, I threw everything at the wall and just see what would stick. And a lot of that also, I'll just wrote a note for you. I'm seeing here, Phoebe, if I'm pronouncing correctly, has raised her hand, but yeah. I've tried a lot of different platforms, and really there are people who are absolutely killing it on LinkedIn. There are people who are absolutely killing it on Twitter. There are people who are absolutely killing it on Instagram, on Clubhouse. Any major social media platform you can think of, you will usually find that there's people in there doing what you want to do, and they're making lots of money from it. Like I know I used to think LinkedIn doesn't work, and then on the Discord, someone about 3 weeks ago joined and said they made $100,000 promoting themselves on LinkedIn. So that just goes to show that it's not so much the platform, as long as there's enough people on it, it's not so much the platform, it's your strategy and methods and how you use it. So whichever platform of the three you like, figure out which one you want to focus on, okay? And then learn how to work that platform. You might need to get a book on it. You might need to listen to videos or courses or whatever. figure out that platform, you can crack and find success on any. So don't get caught up on which one's the best. Which one can you make work?
Yeah.
In my case, it was none of them. So,
So that is the
that's also a
conclusion.
possibility.
Let's get to Phoebe's question next. You can go ahead and unmute yourself, Phoebe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, you're great.
Awesome. This question is, I might have missed that part, so you might have already talked about this, but how do you find your clients? How do you find clients to send proposals to, clients that can afford to pay and understand what copy?
So just generally, how do you find clients?
Yeah.
There's a million ways.
I think it also depends on the platform, what you go for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
For example, freelancing platforms, and this is kind of related to the about generating authority for yourself. Like it's just a war of biting, you know, for clients, like who has the best proposal for the client, and you know, Upwork, if you can access to it, it's fairly easy to get clients there, at least because you see the clients, you don't have to go look for them, you know. But it's also hard because there's more competence. So if you may feel more comfortable hunting clients instead of fighting fighting for getting the gig, then you might want do your own research, because I found out that the times where I did my research and I reached out directly to a client is far easier because there is no competence. They might have been thinking about getting a copywriter in the past, but like when you come with your offer, they will think it through. But on the other side, on Upwork, you have lots of gigs, and the best part is getting gigs that are, when you get one that is actually long-term gig. So that's the way you get stable clients, you know. So that's my case. At least for now, I'm using Upwork. But whenever I find an opportunity, you should call, email a business owner or something like that.
Okay.
I know for the panel, I know Victor does a very extensive work of researching.
Okay. Can I specify a little? I'm trying to find clients in the personal development space, like coaches and consultants and stuff like that. And so far, I haven't really had any work finding clients like that in Upwork. I don't know if anybody has like specific advice for people in that space.
What kind of personal development clients?
Right now, I'm just trying to be very general. I don't have like any specific. I'm just trying to write for the personal development space, not anything in particular. Coaches, consultants in that space. So
what? Or go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's it.
So one thing I would recommend here, and this is like the one of many places where social media is fantastic, is it's pretty easy to find personal development, like motivational-esque people on Instagram. And so if you can find people like that who are kind of selling like they're either already selling an info product or they look like they might be positioning to sell something of some sort, you can do cold outreach on Instagram to those kinds of people and just directly message them on there. I think that's you tend to find them there. Facebook a little bit less, but those are two pretty good places to go start.
Another source, if you're looking for people in the personal development space, lots of them create content, and usually the ones who create content tend to have like more money, so they can pay you and hire you and get that's better. So YouTube is a big space. Instagram is a big space. Podcasts, especially. If you can find podcasts where, like, for example, I'll recommend one to you. It's called the Social Proof Podcast. It's from a guy who interviews other kind of like successful people, and they tend to be many coaches and so on. So you just need to go through the episode, list, and who's he interviewing today? Oh, Rod. Who's he interviewing today? Benjamin. Oh, who's he interviewing? Marcelo. And you have yourself a list of people that you can go and look up and find clients that way. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Yeah, actually, Sean posted on the resource channel, like Sean Gors came in like 3 weeks ago, I think, strategy course for doing Instagram. Oh, sorry, it was a video for developing a personal brand on Instagram as a copywriter. So that might interest you.
Yeah.
It's in the description.
That was a pretty detailed too. I think it was a whole step-by-step. Like he might have even shared the swipes for like the messages he sent to people to reach out to them. And I think he's gotten a couple clients to that too, so it's worth checking out. Dia, you have your hand raised. Let's see. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah. Hello guys, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, I'm sorry if this has been asked before, but I'm trying to get the answer from me. So basically, like a week ago, I actually started doing instead of just reading. I started about, I'm trying to position myself as an email copywriter. So my question is, while browsing on Upwork, for example, on Upwork, I see a lot of gigs, and when searching for email copywriting or email writing, etc., are labeled as email marketer. And this got me a bit confused. So, because when I read the details, it's mostly about, for example, planning an email campaign, or design specs, or list segmentation, or knowing software like MailChimp and Klaviyo. And the more I read, the more there's this dread that, oh my God, I don't know anything about this. I just know how to write copy. So is this a necessity? Like, do I have to actually learn marketing? And if it is, do you have any resources or you can recommend to me to learn from a very basic standpoint? Because I'm literally confused here. And thank you for taking the time to answer me.
Of course. Victor is probably the guy to go to for this.
Yeah, I think that's for me to handle. So something you need to know with email is that there are different levels to it. Many people starting out, they want to be an email copywriter, which means I just want to open my little Google Doc. I just want to type all my copy in there, and then I'm just going to send the client a link, and whatever happens after that is the client's business, right? Can you get gigs like that? Yes, there are plenty, but people at that point, you're selling copy. You're not so much selling a service, and you're not even selling an outcome. You're selling copy. So what I recommend in your case, don't be Siri. I'm not talking to you. Yeah, sorry, my phone just. Yeah, in that case, what I recommend for you is that don't be intimidated by all this sorts of stuff. There are resources out there that can show you that. Please make sure that you join the Discord, because I'm pretty active on there. I also answer a lot of questions about different email service providers, how to learn this. YouTube is also a great place where you can see so many people making content on, like, how do I link a Shopify store to a Klaviyo account? How do I set up automations in MailChimp? How do I do this? And once you can also open an account on these platforms, and then many of them will allow you to just set up and do some stuff for, many of them have a free tier, at least MailChimp does. A couple of them have free tiers where you can just open it up and then test it and play around with it, so that you can eventually go from just being a person who writes the copy and sends over a Google Doc to being a person, okay, I can actually load these emails into the email service platform. After that, there's a level of, okay, I can load these emails into the platform. Can I plan an entire campaign? Can I create segments? Can I segment different audiences and decide how am I going to treat these people versus these people? At that point, you usually need a course. You can get a lot of the way there by asking questions, and I recommend you do join the Discord. But at that point, you're going to need a course. One I have no problems recommending is How to Become Ridiculously Good with Klaviyo by Robert Allen. I'll repeat that again. How to Become Ridiculously Good with Klaviyo in 5 days by Robert Allen. Another one, but he's raised the price recently. I think it's like $500 now. I got it when it was cheaper. Another one, if you can't afford that, there's something that's called The Email Autopilot. The Email Autopilot by Tim Burst. And you can check out his website, theemailautoPilot.com. It's a book that he's selling for, I think, like $30, and it walks you through all this sorts of stuff. So you can go to that point of being strategic and knowing how different segments are and how that stuff works. And that's when you become an email marketer, okay? I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, sorry, I would have to unmute him too.
Right, okay.
Okay, yes, absolutely. Great.
Yeah, you actually answered a lot. I'm actually part of the Discord for like, I don't know, like 6 months now. Ever since I started to be interested in copywriting, but I feel like, I don't know, like it's part of, I don't know, I can blame it on the African mindset, I guess. I feel like it's a bit kind of a trivial question to ask in a Discord filled with experienced copywriter and such. So I feel like I should do the job myself. I should try to find the answer myself before being desperate and actually ask for help. But yeah,
I'd like to address this. I'd like to address this.
You first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never, please, you're just putting a limit on yourself if you do. Never be afraid to ask anyone anything. Okay. You could, actually, I just found like the other day, I found out that if you have a problem with your iPhone, you can personally send an email to Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, and someone will reply to you. Okay, in the sense that you might be thinking, oh no, Tim Cook, he's too high, I need to talk to someone else. No, never be afraid to ask. Just period, in general, in life, okay? And when you ask, you have a place like the Discord. Other different communities are different, but the place like Discord, it's very, very welcoming. So if you have something that you like to ask. And if it's a dumb question, we will tell you it's a dumb question.
Yeah.
But don't, because if you don't ask, the answer is always no. And going and asking people for help is how you grow. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of actually humility and strength in saying, I don't know this. I want to know this. So I'm going to go to someone who knows this. Maybe they can help me. And yeah, Rod, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I feel very strongly about this as well. I absolutely agree with everything Victor just said. When it comes to the Discord specifically, and I would like everyone to know this like very deeply, the Discord exists because a group of newbies got together and decided that they wanted to learn copywriting together. Over the course of time, those people got better. Some left, some joined. Lots of experienced people joined. But the sole purpose of the Discord is to help people for free get better at copywriting. And that includes people who know absolutely nothing, and includes people who have very high level, very specific questions. And so there should, even if there is a very high level discussion happening, there is no shame in asking a question that you think is trivial, because oftentimes what happens too is you'll have a question like, well, do I need to know email marketing to be an email copywriter? And you will get a great answer like what Victor just said. That answers a question that a ton of other people had and gives clarity to some people who kind of thought they knew but weren't exactly sure. And so chances are, if you're thinking something, there are other people thinking it too. And if you have the courage to ask your question, know that so many more people will benefit.
Yeah, Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, and literally, chat just said, yeah, I was going to say the same thing, or ask the same question. Like, that's the reason we're having this panel right now, is for that reason.
It's like in high school or in college, you were afraid of asking a question, and then you asked that, and you find out that everyone had the same question in their mind. It's exactly like that. Like, yeah, no, there have been generally, like, I think that the only questions, the only questions that could be seen as trivial are the very obvious questions, like where do I find the resources? For example, when we have there's a tab that's about resources and has a lot of stuff for free, and even that in those cases, it's just funny, but it's like nothing serious, And I can't even I can't even catch up with the questions channels because of how many questions are there. Every time I see that, it's full of value. So it's highly recommended.
Yeah. I see Yusuf has a question, and I think after this we can probably do one more question, and then we'll start to close. But go ahead, Yusuf.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. First of all, thanks guys for doing this. This is super helpful. I want to ask, like, do you guys apply to jobs that only ask for native speakers? And if so, do you like make it clear that you're not that you are a foreigner, or do you just lie about it? I think some of you could do it with your names, Victor, Benjamin, Rod. But for example, actually, I guess it's obvious that you're not an American, for example. Or do you just wing it until the person asks? Like in my specific case, like for example, my name is Yusuf, which is like the Arabic version of Joseph's. Like, should I go with Joseph or should I use my actual real name?
Can I actually answer this one? As like, so from an American perspective, and this is not the full question, so Victor can definitely like answer the rest after this. The U.S. actually has like a ton of diversity. And so, for example, I live in Southeast Michigan, which has like the second highest Iraqi population outside of Iraq. And so it's just based off of your name alone. Most Americans will not know that you are not specifically American or that you're not a native speaker. So I don't think you need to change your name, because I know Yusuf's personally. But go ahead.
Yeah, I have some notes on this issue. It's first, I want to separate native English speaker from where you were born. Okay, you can be born anywhere in the world, and if you grew up speaking English, or you spent a lot of time in your adult life interacting with people in English, listening to stuff in English, and so on, I'd say you're a native speaker. I'm Tanzanian, born and raised. I've only out of my entire life, I don't want to out my age, but out of my entire life, I've only spent like 3.5 years of my life outside of the country, right? But would I consider myself a non-native English speaker? No. I'm a native English speaker. So for those gigs where they're asking for native English speakers, again, it apply anyway, okay? Number one. Number two, regarding the issues of names, Rod gave his perspective on it, okay, but there's still something that is, we're all human beings, we all have our biases, okay, I have mine too, everyone else has theirs, and it's a case where you have some people, I can't tell you how many, it could be 1%, it could be 100%, it could be any number in between, that see that your name is Yusuf, they might be, let me go with Benjamin, right? That stuff is there. If you have, that's even why pen names are a thing, because in the past you have women who'd be using men's names when they write because they know that people will take male writers more seriously. So if you have that ability to change your name and you don't mind doing it, go ahead, because there's nothing but upside. If you would prefer not to, or even like a nickname or something, but if you prefer not to, that doesn't mean it's impossible, but I'm just going to let you know that there is going to be this range of people who will see that and will have different opinions on it. Oh, also, actually, I don't know if you had something to add, because some part of it is also directed at you.
So personally, I'm very transparent, and my approach is just execution. You have to like put in, send a lot of proposals in the beginning, and you have to bid. Maybe you have to work at a low rate. So I've never tried to cover my name. I don't know how I'll be able to cover my name because it is so, I think, unique. Akshay, I cannot change it to John or I don't know, Mark or whatever. So I am rather transparent, and I would suggest that instead of focusing on all these things like different time zone or like a non-native name, why don't you focus all your energy on like sending proposals and like just be patient, and like if you're not getting any traction, if you're not getting any like response from clients, just join the Discord and ask us, and we'll help you like with your specific skill set issue. But I don't think your non-native name or your non-native nationality is going to like come in the way of like getting clients. I don't think so, because there are so many like in UAE and non-native countries, there are so many direct response agencies in the world that you can get work from and you can get hired. So I don't think you should focus on it, or you should cover it up.
Yeah, I think that's important. Actually, said something super important there too. The first thing people see when you reach out to them is not your name usually. It is the content of your email or your Upwork proposal. And so if what you do there is written really well and reads like like a native speaker, people are not going to assume that your English is awful if they've just read something that's written in pretty good English. So keep in mind what people are actually like seeing first before you kind of write yourself off because of your name.
I'd also like to say something about that. I think a lot of times we limit ourselves, yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of mental limitations. And if we're actually being frank, I think a lot of people have this mentality based on coming from a non-Anglosphere region. They have this mentality that there's a lot of limitation to actually getting these gigs. And to be honest, I think a lot of things are contextual. What am I trying to say? Basically, I think the most important thing for a client is that a copywriter can deliver, right? That's the most important thing. So it doesn't matter if you're short, if you're tall, if you sound funny, right? The most important thing is that you can deliver. So for me, I'd say if there are these disclaimers for a gig that says specifically a native speaker, I do not think that should stop you from trying to reach out to those people. I think the most important thing is that if you have that evidence, if you can portray yourself as someone that could do that particular thing, that could write that particular copy, I think you should go for it. And I really think it's crazy for people to change their names based on how it sounds. I think that's crazy. I think it's really crazy. I think it's extreme, and I feel like on the long run, it might have some mental implications. I don't know. But then again, the basic thing I'm trying to say is that don't let that limit you, right? Just go for it.
Yeah, to be honest, I feel a lot of what you're feeling about changing your name, Ben. Because you're kind of what you're doing is saying that like our name is one of the few things about us that feels unique, that feels so like closely linked to who we are. And so to tell somebody that like they need to change their name because they can't get a job with it, like that may or may not be true. And so like if you're just in a position where you think that that's going to be the difference between you closing a deal and you not closing a deal, I would never blame somebody for doing that. But I think there are so many things that we could recommend before that like I feel a little uncomfortable telling someone that we need to tell them to like reject a little bit of their identity, or that they aren't that part of them isn't good enough just based off of like something they were born with.
To point to that, because I'm kind of if you're comfortable changing it, change it, because that's the side of the fence I'm on. Again, just to bring it back to the fact that what you do right now is not what you're going to be doing 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now. Okay. So just as I said with the whole piracy thing, if that's what helps you get your start, and that's what gets you from, oh, I'm a nobody copywriter, to I have made $400,000 in sales, I've worked for this big client, this big client, this big client, I have done 3 projects that you want so far. At that point, your name doesn't matter. Okay, because you have all this other stuff that you can hold up in front. So I'm not saying go legally change your name, but if maybe that's what you need to do to get started until you can get these things up, I'm in the do what you gotta do camp. But again, that's a personal decision for each person to make for themselves. And yeah, I think that's enough on this topic. We can move on to something else.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and something we've talked about throughout the panel is doing what you have to do. And yeah, I think that's like good advice. Well, it does not look like we have any more questions, so I think it's time to end things. First off, I want to give a huge thank you to everybody on the panel for showing up and volunteering your time to hang out on this lovely Saturday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where each of you is. So Victor, Akshay, Benjamin, Marcelo, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone in the audience who showed up or who came and then left. We would not be doing this without your interest. And it's great to see so many people who are interested in learning, who are interested in improving their situation no matter where they are. I know a lot of the copywriting resources out there are not directed at you, but this is absolutely something that you can do. And as evidenced by our 4 panelists, like, success is an option, and there are lots of people who are rooting for you. If you want to keep up with these guys, Victor just posted a link in the chat. I think he's posted a couple times to a document with how to reach all these guys individually. We'll also get another link to the Discord in chat for those of you who have not joined yet. I cannot put into words how valuable this is. I know many, many people who have gotten their start there, who are now successful copywriters. There are probably thousands and thousands of dollars worth of free resources in that resources tab. I've made video guides on how to do things before. Victor's made video guides on how to do things before. There's stuff like how to make a good Upwork profile, to how to set up your email stuff, how to do business stuff. There were templates for how to do cold outreach to clients on Instagram. There's so much value there, and you guys deserve to have it. So please join, take a look around, say hi. Everyone's very friendly and willing to answer any question you have that is not terribly inappropriate. Do you guys have any? I'm sorry, what?
Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. Like I was jumping ahead of you, asking if we can have a round of closing words.
Oh, of course. People don't want to hear from me last. So before we close, I'm gonna throw it back to you guys. Victor, what would you like to say before we go?
About expectations, in the sense that in the beginning, when you're starting out, you're going to hear a lot of stories about people who seemingly find success just like that. And I know a lot of people were interested here in Benjamin, because he's like, how'd you break into this in a couple of months between this, right? And congrats to him. Again, massive respect, Benjamin. You know how I feel. Congrats to you, right? But know that the reason you hear those stories is because they're rare. Okay. Success in anything in life, copywriting included, takes time. Success in this field as a foreign copywriter will probably take more time. You will deal with lots of different challenges that you need to deal with. Okay, but figure out what you can do. Be resourceful. Do not be the type of person who just lies down, rolls over, and quits just because something got hard. There are days where I've cried myself to sleep. There are days where I got so damn happy I could have done a backflip if I didn't know that it was gonna break my neck. There were days, and honestly, more of the days where I cried myself to sleep than these others, right? But if you stick with it, if you adapt, if you do what you need to do, if you talk to people, connect with others, be part of a community, contribute, ask questions, and do what you can with what you have, you will get to a point whereby, like, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm doing well for myself. I'm not doing crazy six figures, but I'm comfortable doing well for myself. You can. And then once you get there, you can go to 5 figures a month, and then 6 figures a year, and then all that sort of stuff. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take a process. It's going to take lots of challenges, and you do what you got to do. That's all from me.
So, yeah, I was going to say something, but now I feel like I have to answer. I have to answer to what Victor said, right? So I could clear up a lot of things. Man, this shit ain't easy. That's what I want to point out. I started out January, and I got my first client by July. Now from January to July, I think that's 6 months, right? I spent night and day studying copywriting. That's what I was doing. I didn't have a social life. I ignored everything, and that's what I was doing. Just every day, every night. I was just spending time studying copy, and I'd say there are a lot of times when you feel discouraged, yeah. Especially when I started reaching out to clients, and then it felt like a lot of people were ignoring my emails. So I want to point out that every single day I sent multiple emails before I actually got that one reply. I actually got multiple replies based on so many emails, hundreds of emails that I sent, and out of the few replies I actually got, a lot of them didn't work out, right? It didn't work out. I got a spec assignment, I failed that, I got heartbroken, I felt so bad, and I think like a week I even fell sick because I felt so bad about it. But then that's when I later had to pick myself up. So I think the lesson to learn here is that it's not going to be easy. I know we can only experience it. We can hear from people when they say something is not easy, and you just think, oh, okay. But the truth is that when you experience it, you understand it's not easy, and a lot of times you feel like giving up, but you just have to keep pushing. If you have that particular goal in mind, you have to keep pushing. That's just how it is. It's not easy at all.
Akshay?
So I think Victor and Benjamin have made some really good points. You have to have the right expectations. You have to like expect to, maybe you won't get any clients in the first month, maybe you won't get any clients in the first 2 months, but you have to keep going. So that is one part of the equation. And Benjamin mentioned that he used to learn all night and work all night, and he was obsessed with copywriting. So as someone who has dealt with like mental health struggles and has dealt with tremendous amount of pressure from like different sources in my life, I would also say that you have to balance that out. You have to make time for you have to like make time for relaxation. You have to prioritize your sleep. It is not just, it is about balance also. So make sure you are working out. I realized that when I was freelancing. Now I've gotten comfortable after I got this job with the agency. Now I don't work out as much. I don't look after myself as much. But you have to take care of your mental health. You have to work out. You have to like make sure you're eating good, you are sleeping well. So these things are also as important as putting in the work, because they will allow you to function well during the day. And the next part is having some sort of system. So in the internet marketing world, everyone is obsessed with massive success and making big changes and all that stuff. So as Victor said, it will take time. And there is one book I would recommend if you can like get hold of it. I read Atomic Habits. and it really helped me like change my perspective on success. So if you obsess over something, obsess over creating and maintaining daily systems, daily habits in your life. So even if you're working 5 hours a day, five highly productive hours a day, I think that is enough to produce success in copywriting in 2 or 3 months. 5 focused hours a day. You don't have to like be feverish about it. So I would say like have the right expectations, look after your mental health, and also have some systems in place. Maybe get an exercise bike to make sure you exercise. Like I have workout equipment at home. So create systems in your life. That would be my advice.
And Marcel?
Well, how can I go after all this value? So I agree with Ashke actually. Making system. I'm actively trying to develop my routine. You know, Victor is I'm the proof that you have to keep your phone charged at all times because I'm using it right now for this call. So, well, something you will notice and you feel from the very beginning is that you feel like an imposter doing copywriting. And that's the truth about copywriting. Everyone feels like an imposter, you know. The truth is, well, even the greatest copywriters, even Shan, who is someone that's really good at copy, uh, he too can feel uncertain about his copy from time to time, because the truth is many times we're dealing with abstract concepts, and that can be discouraged, especially if you're starting out, because you feel like there is no floor under your feet, you know. um, like you might not be sure about how to tackle things, how to tackle problems, um, but that's just to let you know that's a normal feeling. Everyone feels like that. The best way to do it is with research. So when you actually start doing the show, you actually start coming up with hypotheses about how to tackle copy, how to do stuff. Um, but don't let that feeling, that initial feeling of not knowing what to do or feeling like an imposter, stopping you from actually working, and just going ahead and start pitching your service to everyone, because that's what will eventually help you improve your career.
Beautiful. Thank you again to all four of you. It was so much fun to do this. We should definitely do it again. And thank you to everybody else who came to watch. Let's leave it at that. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Rod.
Yeah.
Guys, see you around. See you in the Discord.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
See you.
Okay.